Hello, everyone, and welcome to whatever we eventually call this podcast. Andrew here, and with me again is EZK and I. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Andrew. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I have to shoot another video tonight for National Masturbation Month, which is this month, so I hope everyone is celebrating with great fervor. My first video came out last week to very little aplomb, but, which is kind of interesting because my mom watches son masturbate, or mom reacts to son masturbating video is by far my highest, most viewed video at like 850,000 views. And so I release a video, and my second most viewed video at like 200,000 views is sister reacts to brother masturbating. So I figured releasing videos called Let's Celebrate National Masturbation Month would be a little bit more popular, but I think it only has like 400 views. So I may have scared off the internet.
Maybe. Yeah.
But
first the whole month of porn and now this.
Golly. Yeah. Well, the whole month of porn was ended up being a day. But I figured National Masturbation Month, I could just celebrate by watching every movie in my collection that has explicit sex in it. I figured I have 4 movies that have explicit sex in it, so there are 4 weeks in a month. So I'll just do 1 movie each week, and we'll have a fun movie to talk about. And so doing that silly thing. And what did I watch last week? Slaughter Disc, which is a horror movie, kind of Tales from the Crypt type of really horribly incompetently done. The kind of if it wasn't pornographic, it's the kind of really bad schlocky movie that Mystery Science Theater 3000 may have made fun of, because this thing is incompetent in every single possible way. Do you remember the video toaster from the 90s?
No.
It was a kind of an editing platform that allowed you to add all kinds of effects to video that was shot on VHS tape at the time.
Oh, okay.
So it would allow you to put graphics on and do all kinds of weird optical effects. It would allow you to turn the image negative, use all kinds of different weird color filters, do weird stuttering ghosting effects. This movie, although it was made in like 2005 or something like that, feels like some kid in the 90s who just got a video toaster and just had to use every single feature of it. So
nice.
Yeah, it was because I remember in high school we had the student council or whoever it was did a daily or weekly good morning high school kiddies, here's the day's news or whatever, and they went overboard on all the optical effects and weird scene transitions, because they just I think they just went through the list. They'd have wipes, dissolves, crossfades, little things that spin, the newspaper spinny thing. Just whether it was appropriate or not, they'd use it, and this movie does the same thing, so it's kind of funny in that way.
Nice.
But I actually remembered, I was thinking the 5th week is still technically May, and then I remembered I may have a 5th movie that has explicit sex in it. I honestly don't remember if the sex in it is explicit or not, or if it's explicit and like mosaicked or blackbarred or so. I so don't remember, which probably means the movie is terrible because I remember almost nothing about it.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember is the reason I bought it in the first place, and that is dildo bombs. What is a dildo bomb, you may ask? It is exactly what it sounds like. It goes off when you do. I heard that, I said, well, okay, this I must see. And that's the only thing I remember. So the rest of it is probably not that memorable. Yes, it's very horrible.
Probably.
But it's still fun to talk about. Yeah. But other than that, my week has been filled with Yakuza 3, which I'm still still playing through. In fact, I was playing before we started the podcast here. I'm having this series is very quickly climbing up my all-time favorites. What's funny about the game is I was in. It's an RPG it's kind of RPG light. It's an adventure game. You have a quest, you have goals. It's like, I need to go to the place and do the thing, or the world will end. But I could stop and go bowling if I really want to, you know. Maybe I should call one of my friends and go for some karaoke, or just have some ice cream, or play a UFO catcher until I get a stuffed toy. The world can wait. It has that kind of RPG mentality, in that the bad guys will wait for you.
Yeah,
and that's
always nice.
It's Deus Ex. Deus Ex. I remember I took that I was playing Deus Ex Human Revolution, I think, and I took that for granted. And it says, "Oh my gosh, these people have taken hostages and strapped them to a bomb. Go get them, hero." And I'm like, okay, I will, after I finish exploring the building, including the women's restroom. And, you know, I'd go in every single room and look through all the drawers and read all the books and just explore fully, because that's the kind of gamer I am. And then when I was good and ready, I went to save the hostages and they were all dead. Because they took too long. Now,
nice.
I think that is the only time in the game it does that. But it really makes you think for the rest of the game. It's like, should I really be messing around, or should I actually go save the world? Because in Yakuza right now, it's like, oh my gosh, your best friend is in the hospital and there's an assassin going to kill him, so I better go over there. But first, I'm going to take my little niece, or the eldest girl in the orphanage that I run, for ice cream on the town. Just take her around and take her to the gambling den because she seems to like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be fine for a few hours. By the way, the gambling in this game is kind of interesting, in that occasionally you can get kind of a cheating item. For example, in roulette, you can get this 0 stone, where if you use the 0 stone, I don't know exactly how Kiryu's using it, if he's like rubbing it or if he swallows it or what, but what it's supposed to do is guarantee that the roulette ball will land on 0 or 00. So, which is a 1 to 36 payout. So yeah. I rub my little 0 stone and I put it on 00, and it lands on 0. And I bet the max. I bet all 1,000 chips on 00, and it landed on 0. So I reloaded the game, went back in there, put all my money on 00, rubbed my happy stone, and it landed on 0 again. I had to reload the game 6 times. I failed 1 in 2 odds 6 times in a row. That is how unlucky I am. You are muted.
Yes, I had a kid sneak into my room and I need help.
But end of the story is I think I got it on the 6th try. That's a coin flip. That's nice. Flipping a coin and calling heads and failing 5 times in a row and finally getting it on the 6th try. That is amazingly unlucky.
Yeah. So, not as unlucky as that guy who was trying to get all the shiny Pokemon. I read that this week. Some guy, it took him 3 years to get every single shiny Pokemon, and it's like he said. The article I read said something like, several thousand tries, like sometimes 28,000 tries just to get a shiny Pokemon to show up and be able to capture it.
That's probably,
I would not have patience for that.
Oh, yeah. I imagine that's probably worse than metal slimes in Dragon Quest. For those of you who don't know, metal slimes are fairly rare encounters in Dragon Quest games. They usually only have like 4 hit points. But,
yeah, 4 or 5, something like that. But you only do 1 damage.
But you only do unless you have some specific attack that's strong against metal enemies or something like that.
Well, it's like Dragon Warrior 4 had the metal Babel sword, which did like 2 damage when you attacked with it.
And not only are these suckers, they're 4 or 5 health, and you only do 1 damage, but the little buggers run all the time. They almost always run. It's like a metal slime appears, it runs away. It's like, and so you smack the slime, and you're like, okay, and you smack it again. You smack it 4 times. It's, oh my god, 1 more! And no, you bastard! I love Dragon Quest.
Yeah, and the metal slimes got better in the later games. The first one, they were worthless. Yeah, because they only gave you 250 experience points, and it's like you could get more experience per minute just fighting in the Dragon Lord's castle.
Yeah, for anyone who's not aware, why would you bother? Metal slimes give a lot of experience points, especially in the later games. They give like 8,000 experience points or something like that.
Yeah.
A lot of times, especially in the later games, if you kill a metal slime, you're going up a level. Your party's leveling up. That's how much experience metal slimes tend to give. If you manage to kill a metal slime at very low level, it's level 3, level 4, level 5.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Riff Raff Games mentions that I'm actually very lucky at gambling because otherwise I wouldn't have that funny story to tell. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So yes, Yakuza is a wonderful series of games, and I highly recommend them and buy them because they're good, and I want more.
Cool.
Sega, if you're watching, any Yakuza games you feel like bringing out here, I will buy. I just bought Yakuza 5, which was a digital-only release. Came out last December. Came out in Japan in 2012. That's how long they take to come out here.
Wow.
3 years. Yeah. Well, they to be fair, these are probably monsters to localize. There is a ton of dialogue in this. Plus, there's just all kinds of mini games and stuff that has to be translated with all kinds of weird different menus. Let's see. Have I been doing anything? Ooh, Card Jockey Pocket Card Jockey, I think is what it's called. It's a 3DS game. Where it's from Game Freak, I think. And it's horse racing cross solitaire. Yeah. So the better you play solitaire, the better your horse runs. It actually works. It's pretty fun. I played the demo, and the demo's like 2 or 3 hours long. It's a really, really long demo. It's interesting. Gives you a good feel for the game. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it played very well. The biggest, weirdest thing I noticed is there's a shop in the game in which you can buy items that ostensibly help you on the course. You can buy goggles for your rider and a riding crop and a carrot, which I guess you give to the horse. The odd thing is, there is absolutely no item description anywhere, unless I completely missed it. I was looking everywhere on the screen. I tried tapping the item. I looked in the online manual. As far as I could tell, absolutely nowhere does it describe what these things actually do. You can buy a carrot. Great. What does it do? I would assume maybe it gives your horse more stamina or something. The riding crop, is it something I use? Is it a temporary buff? Does it make my horse run faster? I have no idea. Is that just something they totally forgot, the item descriptions? I don't know.
That's pretty big oversight in any game. If you don't give people information,
it's such a huge oversight that I feel like I somehow must have missed where the item descriptions are. it's one of those things that like it's like they couldn't have possibly overlooked that, right? I almost want to go through the demo again and just verify.
I don't know. It's, you know, I've played some games where they hide the item description. You have to you have to touch a specific button to display the item's description, rather than just having a box that always displays the item description. It's really annoying. I think item description should be the default behavior. You know, when you mouse over an item or you arrow to it, you know, there should be an item description button, or the item description should just automatically show up at the top of the screen. So I think it was like Breath of Fire 2, I think, or Breath of Fire 1, one of those kind of hid the item descriptions until touched it or pushed a specific button while you were looking at it, and it took me forever to figure that out.
Yeah.
But
Matthew asks if I've seen the Persona 5 trailer. Actually, no, I haven't. Says I'd like the games. I probably would, but probably something I'll pick up at some point now that I have a PlayStation. Matthew also says Yakuza, I'm assuming, most likely has nowhere near as much text as the Persona games. From what I know of the Persona games, you're probably right. Those games there's a lot of story and interaction in Yakuza, but typically when you talk to people on the street, they have 3-4 lines. That's about it. Persona is very, depending on the game, is very relationship heavy. So you talk to a lot of people a lot. So I think one of the reasons Yakuza is a big localization project, but I think it's also not a huge priority for Sega. There's probably a small team, and they're in almost no rush to do it, which is sad because I think the fact that they come out 3 years later contributes in a small way to them not selling as well, and Sega doesn't really market them much when they do come out here. So I still maintain that if Sega had faith in the series and marketed it correctly, the series really could do gangbusters here. So
probably, yeah.
So, Matthew also says Binding of Isaac doesn't do item descriptions. I'm trying to remember.
Does Binding of Isaac have items?
Well, there are weapon pickups.
What I remember is you pick up a weapon and then you push the attack button and you automatically see
what it does. Yeah, you learn quickly what it does. If I'm remembering, I have not played I played the original Binding of Isaac on PC years ago. So
it's been a long time since I've played it. So they may have added a bunch of stuff to it. But it's a roguelike, and roguelikes tend to not have a huge reliance on items and item descriptions and stuff, other than this is the attack power, and then it just throws a special, you know, if it has a special ability. But that's not unheard of for them to not have item descriptions. But I don't know.
Yeah. So, been playing anything yourself this week? Oh, first of all, let's elephant in the room. Have you seen Civil War?
No, I have not yet.
Neither have I.
My son has volunteered to babysit, so but it's so that my wife and I could go see it. But it's not happening. It didn't happen today. So
yeah, I'll probably see it next Sunday. So I'd love to see it now.
I want to see it. I've heard lots of good things about it. It's like people are saying like this is the best Avengers movie ever, even though it's not actually an Avengers movie.
Yeah, small anecdote apropos of nothing really, but I was in the gym talking to another guy, and he says, "Yeah, I haven't heard anything good about Civil War. All the reviews have been bad." I'm like, What? are you?
Where are you getting your review?
Where are you getting these? I have seen. Now, I mean, all the reviews I've read have ranged from good to amazingly awesome sauce. About the worst I've heard is
maybe he's getting all of his reviews from Warner owned review sites. It's like, we can't have it.
But then the discussion switched to politics, and he told me that he had never seen a single example of violence at any of Trump's rallies. I'm like, okay, you're really not worth talking to, because you're either lying or you have really bad news sources.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
because he's like, man, right. Clinton's rallies are really violent. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, but I've never. I'm like nothing compared to the crap that goes on at Trump's. He's like, I've never heard. I hear this all the time, but I've never seen a single solitary example of anything bad happening at Trump rally. I'm like, where have you been? Do you live on this planet or another? I think the guy's just pulling my leg, honestly.
Possibly, so. Yeah.
Anyway, right. Games. You've been playing any games this week?
Let's see. Game-wise has been stuck mostly on mobile, but I started playing Star Command. This is a game that I got at a Humble Bundle a while back, and I started playing it, and it's actually fun. I think I may have made a mistake by picking beginner difficulty level at the beginning, because the battles that I get into are not a challenge at all.
Not like something you can adjust difficulty in the middle of the game.
I looked, and it's not under the options menu, so I'm not too far into the game, so I may be willing to just start over, but I haven't made that decision yet. But it's just with beginner level, it's like the rate of fire for the bad guys is like once every 3 minutes, and they only shoot one time, and it takes off like 1/10 of my shields, and my shields will repair themselves long before the enemy fires again. And so I'm like, where's the challenge? So yeah, I'm at a point where it's like, I probably should have went with normal difficulty, because I thought it would be a little more challenging at beginner level. But the game is actually fun. It's a good spoof on Star Trek. So it's kind of the same theme. A human vessel exploring the starts off in the solar system and then moves off into the galaxy. After spoiler, you get chased out of the Star Command because you were framed in your ship was framed in, so everybody thinks that you attacked another Star Command vessel. So, and that sequence was very weird, I guess you could say, because it was just you show up at Neptune, and there's this destroyed Star Command vessel, and you're like, what happened here? And then the Star Command ship shows up, and it's like, why did you attack that ship? You're horrible. You're a traitor now. And then you have to survive the fight long enough to escape with your light drive, and and so it's like, okay, that's really crazy. They just kind of jump to severe conclusions, but it is fun. I like it, and I think I'm going to be sticking around with it, playing it some more. I can't think of anything else to say about it. But other games that I've played this week would be another mobile game, Bad Hotel. Have you heard of that one?
Maybe. I don't know. Describe it.
It came with a Humble Bundle, but it's basically a tower defense game. But you're building, you've got a hotel, and you have to protect it against like birds with bombs and little that attack your hotel. And so you build rooms around you. Some of the rooms are just there to generate revenue and act as shields for your other rooms, and then you have rooms with guns and rooms that repair other rooms and stuff. It's basically just a tower defense game, and it's very interesting. You're basically fighting against, you're the manager of the hotel fighting against the owner of the hotel that wants to claim the insurance money by when the hotel gets destroyed, he wants the insurance money, and so you just defend the hotel from your owner. It's very weird, very weird.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, it's funny.
And I'm getting no sound from Zachary.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you now.
Okay, I accidentally hit the mute button on my little thing here.
Whoops.
We'll put that here so I don't do that again. But yeah, Bad Hotel's funny, and it's an interesting take on tower defense. I haven't played one quite like it. I've played Plants vs. Zombies, Anomaly, which is a reverse tower defense. I've played Defender's Quest, which is an RPG tower defense combo, and Field Runners, where you don't have a path, but you just build up your weaponry to destroy the guys that are trying to attack you. But yeah, so it's an interesting one. So lots of varieties in tower defenses out there, and this is the first time I've played one quite like it. So Bad Hotel, if you like tower defenses, check it out. It is fun to play, but yeah, that's. Yeah,
Riff Raff is asking if we've played FTL Faster Than Light. I have. Have you?
I have not. I've got it installed on my computer, and I keep meaning to play it, but I haven't gotten around to actually doing it yet.
It's definitely worth a try. I like it a lot. The problem is I have with the game is the same problem I have with gambling. I have no luck. And that is a game that is equal parts skill and equal parts luck. If you have no luck, you will not succeed. You really do. No matter how good you are at FTL, if the game decides it's time to die, you're going to die. So,
nice.
I've never beaten the game. I've probably put over 10 hours into it because it's really fun. I really like the game, but I have no luck, and it's just because there's a random element, and if the stars are not shining down upon you, you're just if you don't get money and you don't get a shop, or the shops don't have anything worth buying, you're just screwed. Riff Raff says play on easy. You know, I've never tried that.
A 20% win rate on easy. That's if you have a 20% win rate on easy, then you're pretty much screwed on any difficulty above that. Yeah, because if it takes Andrew 6 tries to win a coin flip in Yakuza, yeah, just imagine what it's like with something trying to roll a 1 on a 20-sided die consistently. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I have D&D stories that do not go well. It's like, how did you critical miss 3 times in a row? No one does that. For anyone, a very short primer on D&D. When you attack, typically you roll a 20-sided die. And whatever you roll, that is how much damage you do. And of course, what the final damage is depends on a bunch of modifiers, the armor class of whatever you're fighting. And all my die fell out of my die holder. Where are we? Okay, well, there's a 12, there's a 4, there's an 8, there's a 6. Where's my 20-sided die? Okay,
I lost 20-sided die.
It's a die with 20 sides.
Yeah,
Here's a 4-sided die. Yeah. I love it. The 4 is probably my favorite.
Yeah, that one's cool. Did you see the 100?
The 100? Oh yeah.
100 sided die.
I
Yeah.
never had one. My friend Ricky had one, and they're completely useless.
There was another one that somebody had made the large. Was it like a 160 sided die? I forget, but they made this. Somebody actually made a die that's like they figured out that this was the maximum number of sides they could get while still keeping the roll all the sides balanced. And so very interesting. And I can't remember how big it was. Maybe 240. I don't know.
Yeah, wow, I have found every die except my 20. See, I have all of my die except the 20. Oh well. Anyway, if you roll a 20, that's considered a critical hit. That's like maiming a dude. That's like chopping their arm off or something like that. If you roll a 1, that's like a fumble. That's missing so bad you overhead slashed with a broadsword and ended up slicing off your big toe. A lot of times you'll do something like, okay, I'm thrown by an explosion and I'm hanging off of the castle rampart. A savings throw to make sure I don't fall off. 1. Not only do you fall off, but you break both knees upon landing. It's like, oh god.
Nice.
And sometimes the DM will like try to work with you. It's like, okay, you fall off the rampart, but you manage to snag a banner and are holding onto it. Savings start 1. It's like, oh crap. The banner rips off the wall and you fall into a moat full of alligators. Saving throw 1. It's like, oh come on, Andrew, you get eaten by an alligator. I was trying, but geez. All right, you lose your hand to an alligator and you get an awesome hook for a hand. Oh man,
and then I've
had some bad botches.
Hook your eye out with your hook.
Or there's some table somewhere where you roll to see what you replace your hand with, and you get the stupidest thing, like
a plunger.
Yeah, a plunger. Yeah, or a silk brush, or a strip of red silk, so you can ribbon dance, I guess. I remember my first campaign. This is when I was like probably 7 years old or something. We had no idea what we were doing. The god whatever, I don't remember much about it, but I do remember that the god of what my character's god bestowed upon me a magical slice of pizza, which gave me 99 strength. Talk about OP. You're really not supposed to have more than 18, because you roll 3 die for your stats. Yeah, and 3 6-sided die, 3d6. And 18 is as high as you get. Now, occasionally, you might get a super... If you rolled an 18 in some stat, you might get some item that buffs you 1. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to see a character with a 19 strength or 19 intelligence or something. But 99, no. Gods aren't even statted that high. Yeah. But we were kids. We didn't know what we were doing. So that was my first campaign, and that's about the only thing I remember about it. Thor is 25. In what rule book is Thor actually in D&D? I don't think he might, whatever he's statted in. I played AD&D, so I don't think anything's statted that high. Although technically, that becomes a problem when you try statting gods and things that you're not supposed to be able to kill. Because as a player, if it has stats, it's like Schwarzenegger, right? If it bleeds, we can kill it. D&D players are like, if it's statted, we can kill it. We'll find some way to kill the mighty Cthulhu. That's a completely different game, but you get my point. You're not supposed to. The point of Call of Cthulhu is you're not supposed to be able to destroy any of the elder gods. So don't bother statting them, because it doesn't matter how high, how impossibly you stat these people. Stupid players like me will try. We'll figure something out. So
it's like
was it in Deities and Demigods? Okay.
Extra Credits did a whole episode about Cthulhu, and basically saying that everybody gets Cthulhu wrong, because Cthulhu is an elder god. Cthulhu is not supposed to be beaten. If you read the story about Cthulhu,
you're also not supposed to depict Cthulhu, because that's beside the point.
Yeah, but it's like in the story about Cthulhu, where the guys on a ship actually run into him. It's like they basically run their ship into him to try to stop him, and it doesn't do anything. The only reason Cthulhu didn't destroy the world was because he got bored and went back to sleep. That was the end of the story. It was. Yeah, it was just that's you can't do anything about them. You shouldn't be able to beat them.
I forget what that game is called. The one with the Cthulhu and the Elder Gods. I've heard of it. I haven't read the books and I haven't played it, but it sounds pretty neat, because you play kind of otherworldly investigators, and more of the idea is to not, it's got a lot of cults and stuff in it, and that are trying to raise the elder gods, and you have to stop them, because if they raise the elder gods, it's just game over. And if you encounter elder gods or even lesser gods, you're probably just going to go insane and chew your face off.
Probably, so. and that's actually that actually sounds like fun. And Arkham Horror. But that's the kind of game that includes those concepts and makes it fun, because I read a whole book of short stories from Lovecraft, and it makes me want to go and find more of his stuff, because he's a very, very well written horror author. So I want to read more of his stuff. But there's some interesting monsters in these stories. One of them was about just some kind of gray dust or mist or something. I forget exactly how it was described, but it possessed people and basically drove them insane until they killed themselves. And it was just very, very interesting the way he wrote this story. And then it had Cthulhu, and I can't even begin to describe some of these other ones, but there's this one with some aliens in it that knew faster than light travel, but human physiology was not able to travel with them unless they took your brain out and put it inside a machine to keep your brain alive. And it basically like a Cyberman style thing, but not humanoid. It was just kind of a cylinder. Here's your brain, and here's this little speaker that you could talk out of. It was a very interesting story.
Yeah, Matthew, I missed a comment. Snarked that I found all the dice that don't matter. Yeah, the D6 and D20 are by far the most used in a campaign, but I do use the 4 a lot. I actually haven't played D&D in a long time, but 8 and 12 have their uses. Don't use them often, but 6 and 20, 4s are nice to have. 6 and 12 if you have them around. The 100-sided die is a large golf ball. It's kind of a circle.
Yeah.
And
I actually found this. It's the 120-sided die, and the D120 by the Dice Lab. And this was the largest die they could make while still keeping it balanced and keeping it from just rolling forever, because some die will just kind of keep on rolling, and this one actually stops. Yeah, this one actually stops. The video shows him rolling it several times, and sometimes it would roll like for a good 2 feet. Other times it would stop at like 6 inches. So there a good chance that it's not going to go forever.
I've seen people have like it's kind of like a little box like this that they'd roll their die into to keep it from flying across the table and off the table and onto the floor. I've even seen, and that's fine. I've even seen people who have these weird dice rolly tower things. It's basically that little box they just showed with this like pachinko machine that you drop the dice in the top and they go and spit out the front. Now you'd never be able to fit a 100-side die in the ones I've seen anyway, but that's like an automatic card shuffler to me. Although I guess automatic card shufflers do keep you from bending the cards, but that's where just learn how to roll dice. You can just kind of roll and drop them. You don't need to throw them at the table and they skid across the other side and onto the floor. I tell you, if you really want to frustrate anyone you play a D&D or any other dice game with, keep rolling your die off the table and wait. You'll only do it maybe 3 times before someone yells at you. Damn it, don't you know how to... And then you can say, that's just how I roll. And then you'll probably get slapped.
Yeah. Now, Riff Raff points out that 2 10-sided die is good enough for 1 through 100.
That's true. If you were...
you have to roll them one at a time, though. This is my 10s place, this is my 1s place. So you can't roll them both together and say, oh, that 9, that's my 9. That's my 10s place.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
There are a lot of tables, especially in character creation, if you're trying to figure out personality or background, there's tables for this. Also, magic effects and all kinds of weird effects on stuff are in these large tables that sometimes have 100 entries. So you can roll a 100-sided die and find out what the range is. So everything from 32 to 38 is this. Oh, okay. But yeah, you can use 2 10s or something.
Yeah, and I guess you could also bypass the problem using 2 different colored 10s, so that you can say the red one is always the 10s place, the white one is always the 1s place.
I'd probably, if I were doing that, I would probably just roll the 10, and that's the 10s digit, and then roll the 10 again, and that's the 1s digit. But let's see. Matthew also said you've had friends who played, I'm guessing the Cthulhu type games. They only have a 50% win rate, and that drops to 10 if a god is summoned. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard those games eventually you usually lose. There's no winning those games. You just eventually go crazy or die.
Yeah, well, there's lots of games out there. It's Forbidden Island is a tabletop game where you're on an island and you and 3 other people have to work together to find 4 artifacts and then escape the island. My brother, his wife, and my wife, we played this game probably about a good 20 times, and I think we've won it twice. So it's that tough to win because the island is constantly sinking, and you have to like sandbag things so that you can keep a path open from where you're getting the artifacts from and to your helicopter to escape. And yeah, these things, they can get rough if you don't go fast enough.
Matthew asks if we've seen ITMEJP's tabletop streams. No, and I've never heard of that person. So I do know that there are clients that you can use to play D&D and other dice games with other people online. I've never tried those though. They all seem to be based around I'm sure there aren't, but the ones I've seen are based around if you were playing dice games with a map in the center that represents the dungeon or the town, and you actually move figures on it to kind of represent where your characters are in relation to whatever you're fighting. I've actually never played with a map. We just the games I've played have been completely in our heads, and we just kind of keep track of where we are in a given space, which is actually really difficult to do. You have to have a really good DM who, one, can set the scene and describe where you are and what's around and what it looks like, and not only that, but keep track of all the players and all of the DM's opposing forces.
Yeah.
A hell of a lot easier to be a player, I think, because I've DM'd before, and it can be kind of nightmarish. Also, it's a lot of work because you have to design a campaign, unless you just kind of pull one out of a book. But that's it's not cheating; it's just a little boring.
Yeah.
And I would rather just go and play the game rather than staying up the night before and designing the campaign. But that's me.
Yeah.
Does a special end of the year show, plays Made RPG, and somehow ended up summoning Cthulhu in an anime tabletop.
Okay.
Oh, a tentacle monster in an anime? Oh, we know what happens. We know what happens. Okay, so that's enough for tabletop role-playing game discussion. Zachary, there's something I wanted to ask you, because we are friends on Facebook, so I see this you say. And you've been saying these weird things like there are more options available to American voters than just Republican and Democrat. You act like I'm going to call you out on this because I have seen no indication of any third party. I don't see any. The news doesn't talk about it. There's no debates. A lot of times they're not on ballots. So what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Libertarian Party.
What's a libertarian?
A libertarian is a person who understands that they don't know what's best for you, so they want to leave those choices up to you. We are plotting. We're a political party that's plotting to take over the world to leave you alone.
Actually, that should be a tagline. I actually kind of like that.
Yeah, well, it's one of the memes that floats around. But yeah, we're a political party. We believe our philosophy is one of constitutionalism. The federal government should be restrained by the Constitution, and that people should be free to make decisions that impact themselves without interference from other people and government. So if you want to smoke, that's up to you. If you want to get high, that's up to you. But if you want to get high and get in a car and drive, that's where things, that's where you're endangering other people's lives. And that's where we feel that government is justified in making sure that you don't hurt other people. So basically the government's role is to protect people from harm, whether through theft, murder, assault, whatever, fraud, that kind of stuff.
So kind of like as long as you're not infringing on someone else's rights, you're probably cool.
Yeah. So as long if two or more consenting adults want to do something, nobody should interfere with that. So we don't agree with restrictions on marriage or anything like that. Gay marriage, perfectly okay. Plural marriage, as long as it's consenting adults, that should be okay. But we're taking it one step at a time. But here in Oklahoma, this is the first time in 16 years. This will be the first presidential election since 2000 where Oklahomans will have a third option for president. And as you were saying that you've never heard anything about other political parties, I was thinking to myself, yeah, you live in California. You're in a top 2 state where basically top 2 is designed specifically to keep alternative parties off the ballot in November. because you stick 30 people on the same primary ballot. Everybody's going to flock to the Republicans and Democratic parties, and from what I understand, California is primed to only have 2 Democrats on the ballot for U.S. Senate this year, I think is what I read. So, but
I have my little booklet over there. I'd have to go look again.
Yeah, I don't know when your primaries are, but from what I've read, that it seems like there's a high likelihood that the November ballot will only have 2 Democrats for U.S. Senate there. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be kind of crazy. But would you agree that too many people make their political choice based on television? Yeah, I would say that's part of the problem, but also just decades worth of indoctrination from the media and political parties, where we've reached a point where, yes, that Kang and Kodos Treehouse of Horror Store episode is the reality. It's like, we live in a 2-party system. You have to vote for one of us. Don't blame me. I voted for Kodos. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff we live in. But yeah. But what were you going to ask?
I was going to ask, why do you think it's at least from a news media perspective, do you think it's a deliberate choice to not cover anyone other than Republican or Democrat, or are parties other than that just so rare that they're hard to find, or what do you think is going on? Because a lot of people, if you ask average Joe, they'd be like, "Wait, there's a third political party? I thought it was just the 2. How do I not know about that?"
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's deliberate. Most of the media outlets are owned by people who are tied to one political party or another. You talk about mainstream media, where it was like NBC and CBS and all these places. The owners are deep within the Republican and Democratic parties, and they have no incentive to talk about anything other than the 2 parties, and a lot of it goes back, several decades. The most recent would be the year 2000, where Ralph Nader caused some problems as a third party candidate for Al Gore, resulting in George W. Bush winning. Then you go back to 1992 with Ross Perot, and Ross Perot actually had a massive media presence. In 2000, Ralph Nader didn't have a media presence, yet he was blamed for Al Gore losing the election. But going back to 1992 with Ross Perot, he had a massive media presence.
Yes, he did.
He was in the presidential debates.
Yeah. People actually remember that one as a 3 candidate race.
Yeah, that was the last one that people actually talk about as a 3 candidate race. And and because Ross Perot was able to get that media attention, national media attention, he came in a sizable third. I believe he got 16% of the vote in Oklahoma, something like that. And so his presence and his media attention resulted in George Bush losing the election for a second term. And then going further back, 1968 is where now I forget his name, George Wallace, I want to say, but don't quote me on that. He ran in that election against was it Lyndon Johnson and Richard Nixon? I forget. I think it was Johnson.
Yeah.
And he ran in that race and got a sizable percentage of the election, and which resulted in Nixon winning. So yeah, lots of problems. And yeah, as Matthew points out, another part of the problem is our first past the post election system, meaning all you have to do is get a plurality of votes rather than a majority of votes. The difference being a majority, you have to get 51% or 50% plus one.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in a plurality, you just have to get more than you could. In a 4-person race, you get 26% and you won the election because everybody else only had 25 or 24%. Yeah, that is part of the problem. But
okay, here is a completely hypothetical alternate history question for you.
All right.
What do you think? And I ask this question because even in the popular political parties, the more there are candidates who are legitimate candidates, but they are roundly ignored by the masses and news reporting, like Jeb Bush and John Kasich. Everyone keeps forgetting. Well, they're gone now, but everyone completely forgot about them, and they go, "Well, Cruz and Trump and this," and you go, "And Kasich," and they'd be like, "Oh yeah."
Oh yeah, he's
about
in
the
there.
guy. Jeb Bush too. Yeah, I totally forgot about that guy. So I think maybe news media just some people bore them, and that's why they don't cover him. But here's my question to you: what if Donald Trump ran as a libertarian, or well, he's not a libertarian, but what if someone with that type of audience-catching personality ran as a party other than Democrat or Republican? Do you think something like that would capture media attention? In any significant manner?
Well, the last time we had something like that was Ross Perot, so so it is possible.
So possibly, yeah.
Yeah, but
Perot was what?
But again, he was Reform Party.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, some states he ran as an independent because the Reform Party couldn't get on the ballot, but most of the states he was in as the Reform candidate. But yeah, the media will cover people that, as Matthew points out, the media will cover the people who get them ratings, and so when it comes to something like the Republican, the Republican primary going on this year, some candidates just weren't there. They weren't interesting enough. So Jeb Bush, John Kasich, and a few of the other candidates just they weren't all that interesting to follow and report on. And so they reported on the ones that they could actually build a narrative around. And I think now that the Democratic and Republican primaries are over with for the most part, we're going to see more interest because we've already seen a lot of stories just in the last week since Trump basically got the nomination at this point, where people are actually searching and researching libertarian candidates. So like the New York Post has posted a story about Gary Johnson, and he's the one with the big name recognition in the Libertarian Party, but there's Austin Peterson and John McAfee are the two other big names, even though the Libertarian Party has like 15 candidates running for its nomination. It's those three that people, if they're actually looking for them, will find.
Yeah.
And
searching YouTube points out follow or report on or pronounce their name correctly. And that's a good point because I forget how Kasich or Kasich is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because I've never heard anyone in the news actually say his name. I've just seen it written down, and that's a thing too. But it's interesting because Trump is horribly repugnant to a good portion of America, and the both Sanders and Clinton. I've spoken to a lot of people that have a ton of problems with both of those candidates too. So the fact that both Democrat and Republican have candidates that a lot of people don't like, maybe that's an in for a third party to come and say, "Hey, there's another option."
Yeah, that's what we libertarians are banking on this year, because I say very few, but Trump is not well liked by a sizable portion of the Republican Party. Hillary is not liked by a sizable portion of the Democratic Party. While Sanders is still in the race and there's a likelihood that he will win, he doesn't have the mass appeal that the Democrats would need to seal the election. I think he has popular appeal with a good portion of the Democrats and some independents, but I don't think it's enough for him to seal the deal, I guess.
Yeah. Sanders is interesting. I hate to be petty and cynical, but I think if Sanders were 20 years younger, he would be like this amazing firebrand that would capture the imaginations of a ton more people in America. Because at, I don't know, 74 or something that he's right now, he's really towing the line of just crotchety old kook,
he's kind of the Ron Paul of the Democratic Party.
He's not quite full Clint Eastwood, but he's heading in that direction. And I do think, as petty as that sounds, that is to his detriment in some ways.
Yeah.
And 13U Cube says it's Kasich, not Kasich, which I'm pretty sure it is. But so thank you for that. There is 0% chance he needs 70% of all remaining delegates.
Talking about Sanders?
Yeah. Sanders is almost certainly not, from what I've seen, almost certainly not going to pick up the Democratic nomination. Do you think Sanders will go independent or something?
Yeah, see, that's something else that has been floated around. There's a portion of the Republican Party that says that they're going to look into an independent run, pick a candidate to run as an independent, and then Sanders supporters are thinking the same. What I believe is going to happen is they're going to say, "Yeah, let's do this," and then they're going to run into all the
reading the chat.
Yeah, but they're going to run into all the barriers that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party put in place to keep independents off the ballot, and they're going to say, "Man, we're screwed." So, like in Oklahoma, the Libertarian Party managed to get on the ballot because we managed to get the law to form a new party reduced. The petition we had to do to get on the ballot was reduced, and so we were able to pay enough money to hire enough professional signature gatherers to get us on the ballot. But the petition to get an independent presidential candidate on the ballot is still way too high for anybody to really do it. Nobody, as far as I'm aware, has done the independent presidential petition in Oklahoma. The only time an alternative party or candidate has been on the ballot is because somebody did the party petition, and so I think they're going to have a hard time getting on the ballot because in 2012. I could actually pull up the stat right in just a second here.
While you're looking that up, what I was laughing at earlier is Riff Raff Games said there's not a 0% chance Clinton could be struck by a bolt of lightning.
Yeah.
Well, okay, sure.
Yeah, but this is the breakdown here. In 2012, Gary Johnson was on the ballot as a Libertarian or as an available write-in candidate in 49 states and D.C. Jill Stein, who ran as the Green candidate, was in 42 states and D.C., either as a Green candidate on the ballot or a write-in. Then we had Virgil Good, I think he was I forget what party he ran under, and then Rocky Anderson, which was the Justice Party, I think. And he was only Virgil Good was on 38 states, and Rocky Anderson 28. But those were the top four alternative candidates, and so when you're looking at an independent run, you're going to hit a lot of deadlines and petitions and everything that are really out of scope. Like here in Oklahoma, if you haven't already started your independent presidential petition, there's a high chance you're not actually going to get one done, because the deadline for that is July 15th. And I know the Green Party is not going to pick their nominee until August, so they kind of they're just scheduling alone has prevented them there. And I don't, you know, by the time the Republican Party or the or Sanders supporters get organized enough to do this, they're probably going to only have like 2 or 3 months to get on enough ballots to theoretically win, and by then they're probably not going to make it. So
my favorite Gary Johnson memory, I think, was from the 2012 election, and this is sad, but it's also kind of funny, was he was not invited to the debates. So he had his own little debate live stream where he was like watching the debates, and that he was like streaming himself watching the debates and then answering what the debate questions were as if he was actually being asked. It was almost like a Gary Johnson reacts to presidential debate. You know, that it was both admirable and sad and funny all at the same time.
Yeah, that's something that that he did. But there was also another. Larry King actually hosted a debate between Gary Johnson, Jill Stein, and I think Virgil Goode. I think were the three that he had
no
on there.
Republicans or Democrats. They couldn't deign to show up.
Yeah, they invited Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, but neither one of them showed up because
come on, guys. Yeah.
Well, part of the problem, part of it is the Commission on Presidential Debates gets, requires their candidates to sign the candidates that show up to sign a non-compete contract sort of thing, where they can't go to any other debates if they want to be in the Commission on Presidential Debates one, and that's the one that matters. That's the one that actually gets televised on 20 different channels throughout the United States, and the one everybody watches. And that's the one that Ross Perot screwed all alternative candidates out of for the foreseeable future. Because the problem there is the Commission on Presidential Debates, they have a criteria where a candidate has to poll 15% in national polls in order to qualify. But they don't also have a requirement that the polls have to include these people's names. So they base all of their criteria on polls that only include the Republicans and Democrats in it. Because Gary Johnson actually showed up with a whole bunch of polls where it was just him and Barack Obama, and said, "Hey, look, I'm polling 20% on average between these polls that are just me and Barack Obama. You should have let me in." And they were like, "No, we can't accept those because Mitt Romney's not there, not in the polls." And it's like, you don't include me on any of the polls and that you accept for them. And so he's currently suing the Commission on Presidential Debates.
Nice.
So just because that's a pretty anti-competitive requirement there.
It's like politics. This realm of politics to me is, I have the same opinion I do here as I do with video game localizations that some might classify as censorship. See, I see it as the more options we are provided, the better off we are.
Yeah.
Rather than someone arbitrarily telling me, "Oh, this stuff right here, this isn't appropriate for you. You shouldn't even have access to this stuff over here." It's like, no. Let me decide. Treat me like an adult, and let me decide for myself whether I want to use this stuff or. Okay, my analogy is not working terribly well, but I think you get my point. We have a message from Chica Girl Gamer 11 who says, Oh, Eras Raro. We are. I don't know what Raro is. It's not handsome.
So we're not handsome. What?
It says we. Well, it's Eras is Spanish and Chica girl gamer. I'm guessing Spanish. Eras we are. I don't know what Raro. Raro. Someone look that up. I don't know what it is.
Raro. That's
undoubtedly it's flattering.
Possibly.
All right. While
No
someone
idea.
in the chat looks up that word, maybe it says we are stupid or obnoxious or I don't know.
Awesome.
Here to close, I just want to share, because I'm a negative Nelly, my least favorite thing about pretty much any politician running for, well, really any form of office. And this covers almost all of them: Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, all the parties, any person running for public office. This is the problem I have with almost all of them. They say, I'm going to do this thing. And then I say, how? How are you going to do that? That's the problem I have with almost every candidate ever, is they say they're going to do all these wonderful things, but they don't tell me exactly how they plan on doing it. So that's my biggest pet peeve with people running for public. That's why I've kind of stopped watching debates. I usually read summaries and stuff later, because I end up yelling at the TV going, how?
Yeah, and that is a big problem.
I'm going to increase employment or lower taxes, or I'm going to do that. I'm like, great. How are you going to do that? Through the will of the people. That's not an answer.
I'm going to create jobs. How are you going to do that? Well, I'm going to hire people who don't have jobs to dig ditches, and then hire a second group of people to fill in those ditches behind them. And then just have them circle around and do that 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. It's like, okay, that's a plan.
Wait, I can just right click and translate it. Weird. We are weird, says Chica Girl Game. I just remembered that Chrome has the plugin where you can right click and translate to English. So
nice.
That means we're weird. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
So
we're a video game podcast talking about politics that don't have a direct tie to video games.
Well, there's that political game, the Political Machine 2016.
And it still frustrates me that they don't allow you to make a third-party candidate in that game. It drives me nuts. Well, it's like, they don't have a chance. It's like, well, that's because people like you don't give them a chance.
You know, I think, and I'm blanking on the name of the person who does that game, because James has spoken to him. Stardock. Yeah. I think it's more of a complexity issue than it is really. I think if they had all the money and all the resources in the world, they absolutely would include other parties. But I think that's probably just I don't know.
Yeah, but, it is.
Riff Raff says it sounds like Andrew is skeptical that Trump will be able to deport 11 million illegals if he wins. Yeah, well, I mean, Trump is probably the most, probably the easiest. For example, it's like, I'm going to build a wall along the southern border. It's like, really?
Yep,
okay.
And I'm going to get Mexico to pay for it.
And I'm going to get Mexico to pay for it. Great. How exactly do you plan it? Because Mexico, we asked Mexico, and it said loosely translated. No, we're not. So how are you going to get that to work? What would a wall accomplish anyway?
Yeah,
because
how many
rope,
tunnels,
dude?
How many tunnels have we discovered in the last year? I think, like, just off the top of my head, I can think of 5 different tunnels across the border, and that's only 5 that we have found.
the whole wall idea is, it sounds like something The Onion would cook up because it's just so ridiculous. It's so...
Yeah.
I still, there's a part of me that still thinks Trump is trolling.
I've got
how far I can take this.
Exactly. I have a couple of friends that feel that same way. They're like, yeah, we think that Trump's going to, in the next week or two, he's going to show up, he's going to go on live television and say, man, you guys are horrible people for actually supporting all these stupid positions that I've been making up.
Trump's going to get out there and he's going to, punked! If he didn't have a long history of being a pretty horrible person, but
yeah.
Anyway,
all right.
I think that's good for a show.
Yeah. But just to tie the whole libertarian thing into a relatable video game sort of thing here is that just recently the Libertarian Party put out a survey to its members, asking them their opinions on certain changes to the platform, and one of them was the addition of a platform on copyright. And basically the idea behind this platform edition is to, one, emphasize that we as individuals have property rights in the electronics and stuff that we own. So the Libertarian Party is against the DMCA, and two, that copyrights should be the copyright terms should be reduced significantly from what they currently are. So that will be so that will be an interesting change, and that's one of the things that I'm running on for Congress is getting rid of certain parts of the DMCA, specifically the anti-circumvention clause.
Yeah, I don't think that like many things, I think the Digital Millennium Copyright Act has its heart in the right place, but its head up its ass.
Yeah, exactly.
It has the right ideas, and I think it's coming from the right place. It just goes about a lot of them wrong, like way wrong, or it goes too far.
In theory, there's nothing wrong with the DMCA takedown or the notice system. It's just the problem is that the takedown part, where they're required to take down the content regardless of the quality and validity to the actual notice,
right?
And that's a big problem.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the idea behind copyright and trademark and patents and stuff like that. It's just oftentimes used wrong. For example, Sega, I think, absolutely should have the right and ability to take down people who upload episodes of Sonic Boom, the TV show, to YouTube, because that's their show to monetize how they want to do it. And there was an interesting story about that this week. Head over to randomtower.com and read it, because Sega actually exercised its copyright claims with an amazing amount of tact. It was kind of amazing. Yeah. It said instead of issuing a DMCA takedown and getting a strike against your YouTube channel, which it absolutely could have done, and would have, I believe, be well in its right to do that for people who uploaded full episodes of its TV show, it instead emailed the channel owners and said, hey, please take this down, instead of just issuing a copyright or a takedown and calling it a day. So that was pretty cool. And they said, if you want to watch the show, go here. All the episodes are available right here. Keep your ears and eyes
Cartoon
open.
Network's
Cartoon Network
streaming. Yeah, Cartoon Network streaming service is terrible, though. I tried watching stuff on there before, and I've always had problems actually watching something.
Yeah. Matthew asks, what is more scary, that Trump would propose this? This could be pretty much any of his proposals, I suppose, or that a ton of people think it's a good idea. I think it's generally scarier. So what's more scary? A person saying a horrible thing, or a million people going, you know what? Damn right. I think the million people actually listen to the horrible thing and saying, hey, that's a good idea. It's like, no, no.
Yeah, the mob is always scarier than the individual killer, because an individual killer can be stopped, but a bloodthirsty mob, you better run for your life. It's like, and that's the problem with Trump, is that he's the single crazy person, but somehow he's managed to build this entire cult of support behind him.
Because the crazy person who walks down the street ringing a bell with the sandwich board, the end is nigh. Oh, that's crazy, Larry. He's a funny guy. But if he gets a cult of 1 million people, like, purge the bad people from the earth, and it's like, oh, suddenly crazy Larry is no fun anymore.
Yeah.
Or what was the guy in Friday the 13th? Old Fred, or no, that was Tremors. I forget the
Fred. I don't remember Fred. I don't remember Fred and Tremors.
Old Fred was the guy who ran the sheep farm at the beginning of Tremors, who ends up as just a head in the dirt.
Okay, I don't remember him having any speaking parts, but
it's
been a while since I've seen the
He doesn't. He's just kind of standing there, tending the field, and gets sucked in. His speaking part is, ah! That's about it.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's enough of a show. 13U Cube, did you miss the video game section? Yeah, we talked about some video games for the first part, and then moved into role-playing dice games, tabletop games, and pen and paper RPGs, and then we talked politics. And this is probably the most political discussion we've ever had on this show, even though the show originated as a show stemming from game politics. But whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for us. Maybe we'll have a name for the show next week.
Maybe.
In the meantime, we'll plug our stuff and get out of here. Andrew Eisen, Eisen is the last name. How you spell it anyway. Plug it into YouTube, and you can find wonderful stuff like Let's Celebrate National Masturbation Month, week 2 of which is probably posting tomorrow. I'll be filming it in the next hour or so. Follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen, and my Facebook page is Andrew Eisen YouTube. Oh, and I write at randomtower.com, so come hang out there too. Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Easy Night, and if you want to check out my my political career running for Congress, it's election2016.easynight.net. And if you're interested in the Oklahoma game development scene, it's OK Game Devs on Twitter and okgamedev.com. And my game development work, which I'm actually going to be picking up this week and actually doing more work on it, that's divinenightgaming.com and DK_gaming on Twitter. And why is the E silent? I guess
think
in your name?
In my name, Eisen.
Yeah.
Because it's German.
It's German.
I know. EI, that the phonic, it makes 3 sounds. None of them are I in American English. So that's just how it's pronounced in German. Eisen.
All right.
It means iron. And Andrew apparently means manly, so my name is Manly Iron. And my middle name is Bennett, and I forget what that means, but it actually works as a manly something iron. I'll have to look that up again, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah. My first name is Ephraim, and it means fruitful, meaning having lots of kids. I have 6. And Zachary means, I believe it's loved of God or something like that. So yeah. So God loves that I have lots of kids. Is what it means.
So 13U Cube is eyes in. Yeah, or I Zen. Either way works. So eyes in or I Zen. So Are ABE my initials for entering the high score? Yeah. On old arcade games, yeah. It's also nice because I don't have to scroll very far in the alphabet, so I can put in ABE fairly quickly. So that worked out.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, as long as they allow you to go backwards.
Yeah.
The first two initials aren't too bad, but it's K is I have to go
K's
right
in the
into
middle.
the middle of the alphabet. So, yeah.
So, okay, that's it for our show this week. Hope you all had fun, and we will see you next week. Take care. Bye.
All right. See ya.